watch
How?
this?
How?
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 Ew,
How do you watch this?
Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hi, you're listening to How Do You Watch This, a movie review podcast where each week we recommend a movie in the genre we love, but they don't. My name is Megan, and I love romance.
My name is Demi, and I love horror.
And this week I recommended, kind of, to Demi the movie Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And it's part of our common thread, which is...
Movies recommended by our husband.
Yep. Yep. So first of all, since we started this whole thing, Travis has been saying to me, Demi needs to make you watch Pandorum. Demi needs to make you watch Pandorum over and over again. And then we did Friendsgiving together, and Travis was bringing it up again. And Demi was like, all right, bet. Let's do it. And I was like, well, I guess I have to do one that Brett would recommend. And of course I messaged Brett again. Like, we talked on Friendsgiving Day and we knew he picked Scott Pilgrim first and followed by a few others. And then I asked him again. I messaged him again. I was like, dude, like, for real, is that your number one pick? And he was like, yeah, it's my number one.
He said that or Endless Sunshine.
Do you guys tell each other fucking everything? What if I wanted to hold on to that information for later, Brett? Fake? God. Keep like one thing to yourself, dude. This is a podcast with secret common threads.
Well, I already knew the thread by the end of the episode.
Oh God, what if I wanted to do your husband's second most?
Sorry.
Whatever.
I was hoping for it to be Endless Sunshine, but
Eternal Sunshine. But
yeah.
I honestly almost picked that one because you haven't seen it.
I have seen it, but like so freaking long ago.
Oh, that it would be like watching it for the first time again. I almost picked that one, but then I was like, well, Pandorum was Travis's number one pick for me, so I have to pick his number one pick for you. So I did. I mean, I love Scott Pilgrim. I think it's such a great movie, but I did want to pick, especially because the Eternal Sunshine is a little bit more wintry and whatever. But
yeah. I mean, they're both good romance. So
yeah, it's fine because I didn't want like the bummer vibes. Half of his movies, his favorite, are such bummer vibes. And
like
at least
Bummer or Muppets.
Oh my God, for real. And I'm gonna play back into that later with a fun fact I have for you, but I'll save it for the end.
All right, okay. But yeah, he loves his sad romance.
Sad indie, romance. Mm-hmm.
I hate that for you.
God, he's such a hipster. I don't even have to worry about him like hearing that and getting mad about it because I don't think he listens to the podcast. So,
well, you can really hear from downstairs. But...
yeah, that's true. He's gonna come. I'm gonna get an angry message. Call me what?
Yes. So, Scott Pilgrim versus the World is a 2010 movie, PG-13, an hour and 52 minutes. Mm-hmm. It is a comedy action movie directed by Edgar Wright. And those are the starting facts.
Okay. Jump
into the actual movie. And so as I was saying to Megan that it's very hard to write notes for this movie because 90% of it is just like jokes, very quick jokes and just cuts.
It's just so fast. Everything is super, super fast. And it's really, if you pared it down into a review, it is about a 2-minute review because it is it is not, there's not a lot. They just like fluff it out so much with so much stuff that is, if you were to go through it scene by scene, you're just going through it scene by scene.
Yeah. Right. There is so much fluff. Like, it's good fluff, but it's like...
it's what makes it such a good movie. Yeah. It's the same way that I would describe, I was thinking about this earlier. I wish I had seen this when it came out because it would have become part of my personality. That would have been who I am as a person. Because for a while, that's what Napoleon Dynamite was for me. And I would say this is on the same level of there being such the plot is so simple, but everything around that plot is what makes it iconic.
Right, exactly. And I mean, this has much more in-depth plot than Napoleon, but like
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't tell Brett I compared it to Napoleon. He'll lose his mind. But it's similar. There are similar
No, it
goofiness
is
elements.
absolutely very kind of similar vibes. I can't even imagine trying to review.
No. Maybe that'll be another romance I
Got a
give
little
you.
bit of romance
It's got
in
a little. It's got a touch of romance.
Just a smidge. Okay, so my review. We start in Toronto, Canada.
Mhm.
We meet Scott Pilgrim, who is played by Michael Cera, and he is a 22-year-old bass player for a indie garage band called Sex Bomb, which is a great name. And he is currently dating Knives Chow, a 17-year-old high school student, much to the disapproval of his friends in the band, his gay roommate Wallace Wells, and his younger sister Stacy, who's played by Anna Kendrick. There's so many people in this movie. It's crazy.
Yep.
Even Wallace is played by Kieran Culkin, which is...
Yeah. Macaulay Culkin's younger brother.
The whole beginning is just this drama between Scott dating this 17-year-old, and he just keeps making shit awkward. He's like, yeah, we like held hands.
We almost held hands.
Yeah.
He said we almost held hands.
It's just very cringy the way he keeps talking about it. And so everyone's just like, don't do this, Scott. Don't do this. And so then Scott ends up seeing a girl in his dream, and she's skating around in his like desert mind. And so he ends up meeting her officially at a party and learns that her name is Ramona Flowers, and she's played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And she is an American, and she's an Amazon delivery girl.
Dude, the fact that when they said she was an American, it totally went over my head for a second that this was in Toronto, Toronto. And I was like, what? Like,
no one really has much of an accent.
No, there's like one time that Michael Cera goes, and that's about it.
Because the actress who plays Knives is Canadian. She's a Canadian actress. I looked her up because I didn't really recognize her. And I didn't really check in everyone else, but I know a lot of them are American. They just did not do a Canadian accent. But
okay.
It's all good. I keep forgetting too. I'm like, oh, this is a Canadian, takes place in Toronto. So he talks to her a little bit at the party, brings up Pac-Man facts.
Yes.
And then he ends up forcing himself to meet her again by ordering some bullshit package on Amazon. And she shows up at his door, and he manages to get her to agree to hang out with him. And he quickly signs and just throws the package away because he just doesn't care.
Yeah. Yep.
So they go out and at night to like a park, and they're talking. And he learns that she came to Toronto because she was just trying to get away. And they end up going to her house, and they start kissing, and, they don't.
Dude, the kissing is so I can't handle it. It is like the least steamy kiss I've ever seen. Like,
it truly is so.
It's like if two birds tried to kiss. There was almost no actual action, just pecking.
I just not to shame Michael Cera, but I just can't picture him.
No. And it's, he's got that. Part of it is, I think, the role he's been typecast into and the way that they make him look in all these roles where he does just look really goofy and kind of very virginal sort of aspect to him.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was looking him up, trying to see like adult Michael Cera. Is he hot or whatever? And he's okay. He's okay looking. He's not as boyish, obviously, as he looks when he is a boy, but he is just very, very much this dorky looking dude. And I do feel for him because he is constantly put in these roles. The director was saying that people wanted someone like Chris Evans to be the Scott Pilgrim character because they envisioned him as being this hot character. But he was like, Scott Pilgrim is not hot. He thinks he's hot. And that's the difference. He visualizes himself as being this guy. And so it wouldn't make sense to put a hottie as the main character. And I was like, oh, poor Michael Cera. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, So I have conflicting feelings about him as Scott, because in the comic, he is depicted as kind of like, you can see he's like kind of attractive. He's like in a band, he's kind of got that coolish guy vibe. And in the movie, I think they made him a lot more nerdier and
Yeah.
more likable, because in the graphic novel he's so unlikable, but it's a lot longer span of time for you to go through his arc.
Yeah.
Whereas the movie, it's short, so it's like, okay, he's an asshole, but he's also
Yeah.
kind of like him. And so
Yeah.
I understand why having Michael Cera was the choice, but I don't agree with having someone like Chris Evans for sure.
Yeah.
And Brett and I were actually talking about it. I'm like, who would we cast as Scott? And I just don't know. I genuinely don't know who I would have cast as Scott, because like I probably would have had someone kind of like Michael, but just a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
I think is the vibe. It's not attractiveness. It's just that aura that he has. It's just
Yes.
he's a little flirty, and he
Right.
quick with girls, and he's just kind of.
I mean, yeah, and they do talk about how he's had a lot of girlfriends and things like that, which would be surprising for someone like
right.
that, the character as he is played.
Yes.
But I do think it is challenging in that Scott Pilgrim throughout the movie is a dick. He is kind of an asshole. Yeah, there's so much about him that you just don't like, but he is a likable character, and that's his only redeeming quality. I did wonder a couple times if I was Ramona Flowers, I wouldn't have been into him because he doesn't. He's not even like, he doesn't have the. He doesn't have the face to back up the attitude, but
no, yeah, he really is just. So many of the comments he makes, I just like. So the one comment,
oh, dude.
So he's with Knives, and she's like, "Oh, I wanted to invite you for dinner," and he's like, "Oh, a Chinese
God, dude."
Oh my god,
so bad. And there's a point in time when he is at this club with Ramona, and he goes, "Is there anyone in this club who you haven't slept with?" And I was like, I would have walked away forever. I would never have talked to that man again. Yeah, he's just not a good guy, and it's one of those characters where a lot of guys are like, "Oh, I'm this guy. I want to be like this guy." Yeah, no.
And in those movies, it's like, no,
right?
Don't. If you actually watch and listen to what the movie's about, you don't want to be like that.
Yes, correct.
But Scott does get an arc.
He does.
I don't know how much of an arc is in the movie, but
we'll talk about that. I do really want this is again one of those things where I wish I had seen this movie when I was younger. Yeah. I wish that I had read the comics. I do want to read the comics one day. They are on my list, like a to-do list of things that I have to do. I know that I would really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I have this weird habit where when it's been so long that I haven't watched or done something, watching a certain movie or reading a certain book, where I am like, I just can never watch it now, I think. Like,
it's locked away.
Right. It's like I feel such shame around the fact that I haven't, that I'll just never enjoy. I'll never allow myself the pleasure. So
we have them. I think
Jamie really
borrowed the first 3, so I can ask
get them back.
But I think there's 6 of them, 6 or 7. So.
Okay. Yeah. When this movie came out, there were only 2 out, or he was working on the second.
Yeah, which is really wild, but
and he does incorporate some of things from the movies into his writing later on, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, no, that's really cool that he did that. So it was a lot of working together with the author and the movie, and so it all worked out nicely. So Scott and Ramona kiss it up, and then next day Scott, he's lost interest in Knives, but does not break up with her.
Or Knives. God,
poor one. She's so sweet. She's so sweet.
She's so great.
She's such a big fan of Sex Bomb. She's made her own shirts for that.
Yeah.
She's just the best. And so he's pursuing Ramona while still with Knives. Awful person.
Right.
So then Sex Bomb plays in a battle of the band, sponsored by record executive G-Man. We'll find out who that is later. Scott is then, while they're playing, attacked by Ramona's ex-boyfriend, Matthew Patel.
Dude, this was the most iconic of all of them.
It's my most memorable.
The amount of times after we first watched it, I just would constantly look at Travis and just be like, Scott Pilgrim.
you want to fight me.
Yes.
It's just like, so basically this guy literally flies in
Yes.
to attack Scott. Wallace yells, fight, and then Scott starts fighting back. And Matthew Patel's like, didn't you get my email about this? And where Scott's like, oh, no, I didn't get my email.
Right.
So basically, Scott has to defeat Ramona's 7 evil exes in order to be with her. So then Matthew is like, I have my mystical powers. He's got demon hot chicks and fireballs.
Yeah, they're like
it's just,
ghosts. Yes.
yeah, it's just insane. And Scott ends up defeating him. And when he defeats him, he turns into a bunch of coins, and it's kind of like a game. And
and he gets 1,000 points. Yeah.
So that happens, and that's my most memorable. I love.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fair. I love that one too. It's so good, and you really get a feel for how this movie's gonna play out at that point in time.
And the action's fun. I really enjoy the way they did the action scenes. Just super cheesy. And
they do a really good job of giving an homage to the comic book genre itself, because they have like the pow and whip and all those sorts of terms, and the words are very dynamic. And you get those still shots and the break in the scenery. It is really well done. And also they play to both comics and video games, which is really fun. Yeah.
And when you read the graphic novel, you'll pick up how much of the movie is just pulled
great.
exactly from. It's really awesome, and it's pretty wild. Even the characters, the art style is pretty simple and really cute, and somehow the actors look just like the characters.
That's awesome.
Especially the band members. It's really yeah. So this all happens. Wallace, which is Scott's gay roommate, convinces Scott to finally break up with Knives. He's like, no, you can't have the house to yourself until you break up with Knives.
Right.
So then Scott does this, and then Knives blames Ramona for this and swears to win him back by becoming more like Ramona.
Yeah.
So then the next ex we meet ends up being Hollywood actor and skateboarder Lucas Lee, who's played by Chris Evans.
Yes, so
another
great.
Iconic ex.
Oh my god, that was perfect.
He's so funny, this role. And he is filming a movie, and basically Scott defeats him by telling him, hey, you should go grind your skateboard on this railing. Right. He's like, okay. And does it, and just dies at the end because he goes
he
too fast.
Explodes, right?
So that's how he defeats that ex. And then we meet Envy. And Envy is played by Brie Larson.
Right.
She is the lead singer of the popular band The Clash at Demon Head, which is a fantastic band name. And Envy is Scott's ex. And Envy broke up with him a little over a year ago, and it messed him up pretty badly.
Yeah. And dude, Ramona and Envy they have such similar faces. And by that I mean the actresses themselves. Where at first I thought Ramona was Brie Larson. And I was like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And then I realized I was just being dumb, and they're just two white girls who look very similar, but
very, very similar.
They have very similar vibes.
Yeah. And I want to say Envy has red hair in the graphic novel. Not that it matters, but maybe she has white. So little change there. So they are at this show for the Clash at Demon Head, and Ramona tells Scott that her next ex is Todd, and he's the bass player for this band.
Yes.
So they're all backstage together. And this is another scene that makes me laugh so hard. I almost picked as my most memorable, but I couldn't.
Okay.
So Todd they're all talking, and Knives is back there too, because she's also a big fan.
Yeah.
And she dyed some of her hair blue to be like Ramona. And Todd ends up punching her. And her highlights
fall out. So great. It's so iconic. How does someone even think of that? Is so amazing.
The one character's like, he punched the highlights out of her. And that scene it just makes me laugh because it's so stupid. But
it's great though. And he's a vegan. He gets his powers from being such a a vegan, and that's how Scott defeats him, is through the power of half and half.
Yes, yeah. He has vegan powers. So when you're vegan, you can get abilities. So it's a very difficult battle, but Scott is able to trick him into drinking coffee with half and half.
Yep.
And it's his third strike. His first strike being
Gelato.
Second strike was chicken parm.
Yeah.
And then his third was a half and half. So the vegan police take his powers and skedaddle out.
Amazing.
There, and they like high five.
Yeah, I loved it. And apparently in the entire movie, they're the only two actors over 30 in the entire movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. The one guy is from that popular show back in the day.
Yeah.
Fuck, I forgot what it is. People can look it up.
Yeah.
Just because I don't recognize the other guy. I don't know if they were both on the show.
I'm pretty sure that it was both two popular characters, but I can't remember.
It's just funny. But also Todd is played by Brandon Routh, who is Superman in the one movie.
Yeah, not my Superman, but
not before Henry, I think, right before Henry.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's the one that had the bubble undies or something. There was something with his
girl.
suit
What?
that was like weird.
Bubble undies. They had special cushion for his butt to make it
they
bigger.
Were just like weird. He had the briefs, so they still had.
I wish they did that for Cavill.
they should always keep the Superman brief. So thank God they're bringing it back. Anyway, enough of Superman.
Yeah.
So Scott at this point has defeated a few exes, and then he fights another ex, and this is Roxy. And Roxy is someone that Ramona claims was just a fling in college. She was a little bi-curious, rude.
Yep, I know. I was like, this is not age. There were so many jokes that didn't age well. At one point, Kim uses the R word, and I was like, oh, 2010.
Oh, not good. I will say the animated series on Netflix, it's pretty much a readaptation, but they change things. There's a point where things take a turn.
Okay.
And I wasn't a huge fan by the end of what they decided to do, but something I did like was how they handled Roxy in the show. So Ramona was trying to claim that it was just a fling, and it wasn't, and so she kind of goes more into that whole relationship, and so I think that's better done in the animated series. But anyway. Yeah. So Ramona tries to fight Roxy now instead of Scott, but Scott needs to be the one to defeat them, and so he ends up doing that. And at this point, Scott grows frustrated by the process. This is the time where you said he's like, oh, who here haven't you had sex with?
Right.
And so he's just upset. He's frustrated, but he's also being like an asshole about it. And so Ramona's like, ooh, bless you.
Thank you.
Ramona's like, maybe we should take a break. Maybe we should break up.
Right. Which is honestly more gentle than I would have been.
You have to fight my exes. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Make your choice.
Yeah. So then the next battle, the bands, Sex with Bomb, go against Ramona's 5th and 6th ex,
God,
which are twins,
God,
Ken Katayanagi. And so pretty much they're DJing on the one side, and then Sex with Bomb's on the other side, and they're just
amp off,
energy amp off at each other. And it's a pretty cool scene. So they end up defeating those exes, and Scott gets an extra life from this video game.
Yeah, I loved, and his little graphic is so cute.
Yeah. So, despite all this, Ramona appears to get back with her 7th and final evil ex, who is Gideon, and he's also G-Man, the record deal executive.
Yep.
So after the show, Sex with Bomb ends up signing with Gideon, except for Scott. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm quitting. So he quits the band. Gideon then invites Scott to his venue, the Chaos Theater, where Sex with Bomb is playing. And so he goes there. He's determined to win Ramona back. Scott ends up challenging Gideon to fight for her affection, earning the Power of Love sword.
Yep.
So
which emerges from his chest, and I was just like,
yeah.
God.
So then Knives shows up and ends up interrupting the battle. She's attacking Ramona, though. She's upset that Ramona broke Scott's heart. And then Scott stops them and is forced to reveal that he cheated on them both. But at first he's like, I just cheated on one. And Ramona's like, no, that's not how that works.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, is ridiculous. But I also was like, if it was me and I was Knives, I would be like, hell yeah, girl, break his heart. And not like, I'm going to break the heart that broke my heart or whatever it is that she said.
A teenager.
I know, 17, but still, the wrath of vengeance would have led me.
Yeah, for sure. Couldn't be me, but
no.
That's what ends up happening. And then while this is all happening, Gideon ends up killing Scott. He stabs him with a power sword through the chest. And then Ramona ends up visiting Scott in this limbo setting and reveals that Gideon has implanted this mind-controlled chip in her. And that's what's making her keep going back to Gideon.
Yeah.
So then Scott, because he has his one-up, he ends up coming back to life.
Yep.
He re-enters the Chaos Theater, so he's able to do it all again.
Yep.
He makes peace with Sexbomb, his friends, and then he challenges Gideon, but this time he challenges him for himself, gaining the power of self-respect.
Yep.
And so they fight. He defeats him, and then he apologizes to Ramona and Knives. So he handles that situation much better. He still says, "I cheated on you both. I'm sorry. I'm an asshole.
Yeah,
that's all me." So I'm like, cool. You're learning something. Self-respect. So then Scott joins forces with Knives, and they end up defeating Gideon completely. And then after the defeat, Scott is forced to face his biggest enemy yet, himself, with Mega Scott.
Yep.
And so he tells the girls that he needs to face him alone. So they go outside, wait for him. And then after some time, Scott and Nega Scott exit, and they agree to meet up for French toast.
Right.
Yes. Week. And they're just like, oh, yeah, we're buddies now. So
yeah, we actually have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
So Ramona prepares to leave and just move on. And Knives accepts, her relationship with Scott is over, and she tells him to go after Ramona. And so he does. He leaves with Ramona and, tells her that they could try again and just work together, whatever direction they go. And exit through a door to wherever. Right. And that is the movie.
Yep. Yeah. Do you know there's an alternate ending?
I do, and that's the first ending I actually saw when I saw it.
No! Yeah. Wait, how?
Yeah, I don't know what version I had. This was when I was in Florida. And I saw that ending first, so if you want to say what it is.
Yeah, so in the alternate ending, he ends up with Knives, and Ramona goes off on her own.
Yeah.
I can't believe that was the first one you saw.
Yeah, and for me, so when I first saw the movie, I thought Ramona was not real, technically. I thought she was a life lesson for him.
Right.
And so seeing that ending, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
And then when I got with Brett and we were talking about the movie more, he's like, no, that's not how it is. You have to read the graphic novel. So then I read the graphic novel. I was like, oh, right, that makes sense. I understand now who Ramona is, because in the movie, for me, they don't break her down as much as Scott.
Right.
But her and Scott are both assholes. They're both not good people.
Yeah.
And they both go through this arc and learn about themselves. And Ramona learns she can't be running away from everything. Like, every ex she has is dumb stuff. A lot of them is just in middle school or high school.
Right.
It wasn't super serious, but she would kind of just flake on them and was just breaking hearts, similar to Scott breaking hearts.
Yeah.
And so they're both very similar in that way. And in the movie, they don't show that as much. There's hints and stuff throughout, but the graphic novel does, dives into that more. And the animated show actually dives more into her.
Yeah.
But they do in a way where I was like, I don't know.
Okay. Interesting.
But
yeah, I wonder how I would have felt. I did, when I was watching it, I was wondering if the second time around, I was like, is there an alternate ending? Because there are some ways in which you kind of feel like he should be with with knives or something.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a much sadder movie. And I was like, I bet Brett would like it better if Ramona and him didn't end up together because he loves his sad boy movies.
Yeah. And I think it makes sense that they're together because, you know, they go through a lot together, and it just makes the most sense at the end that they continue to grow together. You know, Knives is a good person, and she, you know, Scott was
I do think
really
she's better. I think she's better suited for someone like young Neil or something, even though we don't see young Neil very much, but it's better. It's better for her to be with someone sweet than someone who's not going to give her the time she deserves. At the end of the day, she deserves better than to be with Scott.
Right. And even when they were together, he did not treat her well.
No.
So.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he's in love with Ramona pretty much immediately. So pretty shitty. Yeah.
One of the scenes where she first meets the band, he's like, "Oh, let me get your coat," and then he just drops her coat on the floor.
Dude, that is so freaking funny to me. Oh my god. I also, you didn't mention it, but this is probably my most memorable scene. Is aside from they're all just so good, but when she comes over and Wallace answers the door and he jumps through the window to avoid her.
That was like a real shot of someone jumping.
Oh my god!
They had to time it right where they.
That's amazing.
Right, it's a small, one of those basement windows.
Yes, not an easy jump to do.
That's one of the best scenes.
Yes,
because it's just the framing of it is so funny. Because Wallace opens the door and you see Scott for a second. He just ducks behind the door and then jumps out the window, and Wallace is like, "Oh, he just left."
And then tries to kind of block it with his arm. It's great.
And Wallace is my favorite character.
Wallace is so good.
The best character ever.
He's so funny. Dude, when he basically keeps stealing Scott's little sister's boyfriends, and she's like, "Again?"
But and it's just, and they share one bed.
They share one bed.
Times when he's in bed with another guy, they're all just talking together. When so the one scene, Scott tells drunk Wallace, he's on the bed. He's like, "Oh, about Ramona or whatever," but he's still dating Knives.
Yeah.
And Scott's sister immediately calls Scott and was like, "Are you dating Ramona?" And he's like, "How'd you know?" And she's like, "Wallace texted me." And Wallace just passed out, but then his phone is like suddenly next to him.
Oh, I love it. And it reminds me of the transitions too. I took a note of this because the transitions are done so well in this movie, where it's almost like how people do the TikTok transitions now, where you're like, wait, how did they do that? And it'll really quickly move over a face and then they're in a new location, or it'll be on Scott and his hair is out, and then it switches and then it's back on Scott and he has a hat on because someone commented on his hair. And it's great.
The way the dialogue continues, but like in a new scene, so it changes the context, and it's really, really clever how they did all that.
Super well done.
That's one of my favorite things about the movie too, just the way it's framed and how scenes are done. It's just makes it funnier too. The only other, so I talked a little bit about the book. Obviously the graphic novel's better. The movie's still very good.
It's always going to be better when you have more time to delve into that storyline.
And the art style's super cute. I'm obsessed with the art style. And I really like the casting. The only one was Michael Cera, but I'm also like, I feel like he had to be Michael Cera.
He's kind of the perfect role for it. He really is. I mean, I haven't read the book, so I can't say who I would have put instead, but I really don't know who it could have been aside from him. And it's funny because Edgar Wright stated, so the director stated that when he began writing this movie, it was before he had ever worked on Hot Fuzz. And so he was watching Arrested Development and basically was mourning the fact that the character George Michael, played by Michael Cera, was too young for the role of Scott Pilgrim. And then it took so long for this to get made that he ended up growing, aging into the role, which is perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I forget Michael Cera was in Arrested Development.
Oh, God, dude. That's the first role I think might be one of the first roles I saw him in.
Because is Superbad his first role, technically, or no?
I don't know. Let's look. probably his first big movie was Superbad, and Juno were in the same year.
That's right.
Yeah.
2007. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and Arrested Development, I don't know what years he was in, but that show's from 2003 to 2019, so.
He was in it since 2003. He was in it from the beginning, so I guess it was
so that had to be his
where I first saw him, and then, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a 2003. I forgot they did that, like, revision. They, like, revised it. I went back to it. Did you ever watch Arrested Development?
Not fully, no. Brad tried
dude,
it. I know.
Are you kidding?
I know.
Did you not like it?
No, I did. I don't remember what happened. We started watching it, and this was, like, I think when I was in Drexel still. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what happened that we stopped, but I did like it. So.
Dude, the money's in the banana stand. I think about that all the time, like regularly. Okay,
definitely. I definitely have to. That's one of the shows that I do want to actually watch.
It just is so funny to me how you're such a movie person and I'm such a TV person, because I have really seen like. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter.
My TV game is awful.
Yeah, I know.
Awful.
I know. And mine's not even what it could be, because I've just don't even have the bandwidth anymore for everything that's available. But
I think for me, I just was all I watched was cartoons forever.
Yeah.
And even as to an adult, I still like watching cartoons. So I think that's part of it, where I wasn't really watching other sitcoms or channels and stuff.
Yeah.
And so
I always loved sitcoms. I was obsessed with sitcoms like through and through. So they're just, it's my bread and butter. It's my comfort.
Hey, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it is good
stuff. A lot of good stuff out there.
So my other fun facts, or do you want to finish your review?
We can finish my review because I already did most of it.
Do it up.
Deleted scene. I had a hard time picking something, but I think I would do like him and Ramona's date scene where they kiss, because I don't like cheating.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's the only real reason.
I agree.
And then main character made love interest smash. Scott, I'm like,
fair.
Not.
Yeah,
Ramona, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she was like, dude, fabulous. Are you kidding me? The way I would have wanted to be her in 2010 is unbelievable.
If my hair wasn't so curly, I definitely would try that hairstyle.
Oh, yeah.
But
I love it.
It's fine. Side character, I chose Wallace. I'd smash, but
yeah, he wouldn't want to smash back.
So it's fine. I'll take the
the rejection.
Yeah, it's okay. Fall in love. So I said 8.
Okay.
I don't like the cheating aspect, but
that's fair.
You know, I think there was a lot of growth and a lot of fighting for himself and me, and I'd appreciate that. And so I think by the end, I probably would.
Yes, I agree.
Recommend. Yes, I would recommend. And I gave it a 4.9 because I do like the graphic novel more. I think it just has there's a little bit more depth.
I mean, you can't compare a movie to a book, but it's fine.
I know.
No, I know, but it's fine.
I think there's just.
No, I know. I agree with you.
And
I agree with you.
A little bit more. So
yeah, I understand.
My only little thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all good. I would have given it. I would have given it a 5.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, aside from obviously not taking into consideration the cancelable jokes that were not good. If we're ignoring those and pretending that's okay, then 5.
Yep.
It's great. And yeah, he is a little bit of a shit, but I still think it's just the way the movie's done itself is really good. I just enjoy in general how it was filmed, the jokes. 95% of the jokes were hilarious.
Yeah.
There's just there's like a little bit of a bit of playfulness. Those references, you know, you hear the Zelda song in the background, and then that comes into play again as they're defeating enemies and those sounds are going off, or the Sonic coin noises. You have the Seinfeld song play. There's just so much of that comes into play.
Yeah.
That's fun and quirky and just little nuggets, Easter eggs that you keep getting and being able to enjoy. So
yeah.
I love
this
that.
movie is so easy to just rewatch and catch new things every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Which brings me to probably my favorite fun fact that I'm going to tell you, but the little things. And I feel like you probably had to have noticed this in some way, but each evil X has a corresponding number that is displayed throughout the movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I noticed that.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over it. It took me until number 3 to get it, where I was like, oh my God, oh, that's happening. Because Todd Ingram is wearing a shirt with a big number 3, and he's the third evil X. And so then essentially Matthew Patel, number 1, he points with one finger, he covers one of his eyes, and his outfit has one chevron on his shoulder. I feel like there's probably more. I wasn't watching it to catch these things. Yeah. A couple of them I noticed, and then a lot of them I gathered from internet delving. So there's probably more than what's being listed, because Lucas Lee has a shit ton.
Yeah.
He has stunt doubles, so that's 2.
Yeah.
He grinds down 200 steps. He has a 2 on his trailer, 2 on the car. He has a small tattoo of the Tibetan symbol for 2 on his neck. His belt has 2 X's, and he points at Scott with 2 fingers. So it's just like freaking 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So I was like, there has to be other things with Patel and stuff. Todd Ingram has a shirt with a 3 on it, is in a 3-person band. There's 3 posters on the wall, and 3s are on the trash cans in the alley. Roxy fought Scott at a club called 4 and has 4 rips in her leggings. Again, I feel like there has to be more than that, but just because of how is there so much for Lucas Lee? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. Kyle and Ken, 5 and 6. So apparently they have 5 and 6 stenciled on their cuffs. And also the amp system goes up to 11, which is the sum of 5 plus 6. Gideon Graves. So there's a reference to the club or the place being on level 7. When he levels up, all of his stats read times 7. That's gum he swallows, he references it being stuck in his digestive tract for 7 years. Yes. His initials are GGG, and G is the 7th letter of the alphabet, and his logo is made of all 7s.
Damn.
And then Scott himself is seen wearing a shirt that has a 0 on it, and he's drinking Coke Zero. Because he's not an X, so he's 0. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So those, I love Easter eggs like that. That's the kind of shit I'm like, gimme. Because, I love looking for little patterns.
Yeah. I have to see if Brett knows that.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't.
We'll see. I don't know if he knows that.
Yeah. So I noticed it with Todd, and then I was looking for it and was seeing it with Gideon and Scott himself a lot and things. But I struggled. The subtle ones were definitely Matthew, the Katayanagi twins, and then a few of the Graves ones were more subtle. And there's people who are claiming there's even more, where someone was like, oh yeah, Lucas Lee has 2 E's in his last name and whatever. And it's like, I don't think that's
I mean,
it could be, honestly. Maybe it is. I don't know. Okay, so a couple of more fun facts. This one is from IMDb, so grain of salt, yada yada. Ramona's hair colors correspond with the colors of the 3 goddesses from the Legends of Zelda, so pink, blue, and green, which I love because I like the fact that there is a tie-in with the colors that are chosen for her hair. I think is cool, whether or not that's true,
Yeah.
Her phone number that is used, I was tempted to call it, but I didn't. It appears in a couple of different movies, like Definitely Maybe, which is a movie I will make you watch at some point.
Okay.
But it is a phone number that Universal acquired in order to not use the fake 555 number you see in movies very often. It took 33 takes for them to get the footage of Scott Pilgrim throwing the box over his shoulder. Yes. I actually have a clip for you, which I will send you. Okay. But there is a clip And I was just like, he literally does throw it. There's just some dude in the background who keeps grabbing a box and giving him another box over and over and over again. I was like, and you can hear a couple times Scott go, God damn it. Damn it. Fuck. Like,
it's just like immediate.
Yes.
Yes. Sling. So that
Sling.
is
Yes.
not easy. That's awesome.
Yeah, I sent it to you to watch at your leisure. The writer of the book, Brian Lee O'Malley, wrote a list of 10 facts for each of the characters to give to the actors so that they could keep that in mind while they were acting. And the one I found that was the most interesting, and I didn't find like a comprehensive list, but Aubrey Plaza did an interview, and her character, Julie Powers, she said that the most interesting fact that was on her list, because there was one that was like, hates cauliflower or something like that. But the most interesting one, the one that really fed her part of the identity of the character, was that Julie Powers had a secret crush on Scott in college and never paid her any attention and only dated her friends. So it feeds a little bit of that animosity she had toward them.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot to bring up Aubrey. She plays iconic character.
Yeah, always iconic. Yeah. She's the best hater you'll ever have.
And at one point she's cursing at him, but it's bleeped out.
Oh,
Scott like,
so
how are you gonna know with your mouth?
Yeah.
She's like, don't work about it.
Yeah, I love it. It's so great. Okay, and then in my last fun fact is that in an interview with Collider, the director stated that he wanted the movie to play out similarly to a musical, except instead of songs, they were orchestrating fights. So in that way, the battle scenes are acknowledged the same way that you would acknowledge Elphaba's defying gravity, which is to say they're not acknowledged at all, and it's just a tactic to move the story along.
It's just what it is,
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So, yeah, I like it. That was my last fun fact. I think it's really, really fun.
Yeah. No,
and there's stuff. And there's other stuff too, other little things that they hide in there. But if I was to list off every little Easter egg, we would be here all night.
Yeah. No, it's one of those movies you gotta just watch yourself. You
have to watch it. And it's not super heavy on the romance, you know? It's one of those it's pretty action packed. It's pretty goofy and light. And I would say that it would not even really, it's barely a romance, but it has romance, but it's barely a romance.
I mean, the plot, is like,
yes, the whole plot is about love.
Yes. But it is not, them being together and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Like, hey, you gotta fight my ex.
Yeah. When I watch this movie, I love this movie. It doesn't give me butterflies. I'm not like, oh my God, I want to be her. I want to be her a little bit, but just because she's cool.
Just because she's rad.
But it's not, you're not going to feel the same way as when you watch Pride and Prejudice.
Exactly. It's different.
Yeah.
Different type of romance. But romance nonetheless.
Exactly.
So, all right. So the movie I'm going to give you is a movie called Jack Frost. Not to be
stop. Please tell me it's the goofy.
Not to be compared or confused with the other Jack Frost with Michael Keaton.
That's the one I was hoping for.
This is a horror movie called Jack Frost.
No.
And you have to look up Jack Frost horror, because if you don't, you will see the Michael Keaton one.
Yes, because I only learned about this Michael Keaton one this weekend after we were watching a movie together, and I would have liked to have watched that one. No,
this is a horror. So it is about a notorious serial killer named Jack Frost.
Lord.
He's being driven to his execution when the truck carrying him encounters a bizarre accident. He turns into a snowman.
No.
And then murders start happening.
No, ma'am. How?
You have to watch and find out.
There's no freaking way.
It is a 97 movie, so
dude.
It's just
okay. You know what? I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you will.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. You'll have a lot of fun with this one, and you can watch it on Peacock, Tubi, Philo, the Roku channel, apparently.
Girl.
Amazon Prime, perhaps. I don't know.
I
A
just
lot of
looked
places.
this up on IMDb, and I literally cannot handle what is being put in front of my eyeballs right now. This is bro. All right, so I'll save the extra for when you show me the trailer in 5 minutes.
Yep. Okay. So that is your movie.
Okay, great. So, I mean, God, if you want to watch me watch this trailer, it's going to go up on TikTok. Thanks for listening to How Do You Watch This? You can find us on Instagram at How Do You Watch This and TikTok at How Do You Watch, or email us at howdoyouwatchthis@gmail.com. If you like the show, support us by giving us a review or recommend to a friend.
Thank you. See you
Thanks. Bye.